This beautiful flower on this beautiful tree has been given many names. Nothing that we call it can take away from what it is. Beautiful, natural, blooming, and so are you, beloved sibling. They may call us many names, but nothing can change who we are. Naturally occurring, beautiful, blooming. I am because you are. You are because I am. I love you.
Let's go ahead and sing this opening hymn.
We have chosen flowers, nature's most tender, common, and beautiful gift, as our symbol and sacrament. A flower is divine. You cannot create it, whatever effort you make. You can create only a dead forgery without fragrance and life, nothing more. What is supposed to be expressed in our symbol, our sacrament? Number one, each of us is symbolized in a flower. Number two, flowers together in a vase symbolize fellowship, our commonality. Number three, the way we carry away the flower symbolizes voluntarism, freedom. Number four, when you leave this meeting in peace and without rush, each of you take a blossom out of the bunch of flowers without choosing as a sign that you do not pick who you want to accept as your family.
So welcome to the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge. My name is Nathan. I'm one of your ministers. Before we do the welcome, really quickly, Kathy, who is in, not you, Kathy, who is in the narthex, we're going to bring the flowers in during the next hymn. So you're fine, but that's when it'll be. All right, you all didn't hear that. We're good. My name is Nathan. I'm pleased to welcome you. Reverend Chris Long is on a well-earned vacation after a busy few weeks. So here are some things for you to know. during middle hour for the next 5 weeks, we're going to actually have a member of the church's safety team to be with you to talk about various safety things. This past week, 10 minutes ago, was all about keypads and keys to the church. So, and they filled the whole hour with it. So this is something just for you to kind of keep in mind. All right, here we go. There is a season coming up starting in June that involves a hot Gulf of Mexico that results in things I'm not going to mention because for some reason I have the power to jinx it and I'm not going to. But just in case, we have a disaster response team. They sent out a survey like yesterday or Friday, and if you didn't receive it, there's a table set up out there. The survey is not really a survey, it's a way for us to get your information on a Google form so that we know what you may need, where you are, and what you may have to offer in the case of a storm of some sort. So that is what that is for. So if you could take some time and fill that out, that would be great. Also, before we get too deep in, I do want to thank, we have some super musicians today. So I want to thank Lynn He, Jennifer Casson, and Daniel Casson. Thank you for providing music today. And this is my last service before I go on a 4-month sabbatical. So here's what I would like for you to know. It is, actually there was some confusion, so I'm just gonna, well, hang on. YouTube people, we tried to stream you at 9 o'clock. The internet had a fight, we lost it. Brian, we're streaming now, correct? So now, welcome in late. Good. So you all are being streamed now in ways that 11:30 usually is not. But for sabbatical, I will be gone until about September 8th. In the meantime, Reverend Chris is going to be the minister in charge of everything. Ask him a bunch of questions he doesn't know the answer to so he can better experience what it's like to be me. Also, a few things. We have invited in Reverend Sarah Dendy Green to do some supplemental preaching. She's an affiliate Unitarian Universalist minister in New Orleans. We've also invited our former ministerial intern, Leslie Runnels, to provide some of the sabbatical support, supplemental ministry, or whatever we're calling it. But so she is also available for you. So here's the deal. I'm about to set a massive out of office reply, and I will not see any emails for the next 4 months. And a lot of ministers just delete all the emails. I don't know that I'm brave enough to do that, but it means I'm not going to correspond until September, and if you emailed me anytime between now and then, I may not see it. So that's the first thing. And if you decide to text me, I will still receive those texts, but I will pretend I did not. I will then, if it's a concern, I will pass it along to Reverend Chris, and he will fuss at me for communicating while I'm supposed to be away. So please don't get me in trouble with him. Good? All right. The last thing is we have a plant set. Well, no, let's talk about the plants during the offering, because that's enough information for you. So we have another thing we're doing, which is a child dedication, children dedication.
And I started, oh, this one's hotter.
I believe you started, but I have to find my papers.
Yeah, so last time we got confused, and I had 2 copies of one paper, and I gave it to Kathy. So let me have,
You would like the second page?
yes, now I have 2 pages.
Somehow when we did this at the first service, I wound up with 2 second pages, and he wound up with 2 first pages.
So we are now
I think
clear.
we are
yeah.
now settled.
Yes,
Ready?
go.
Okay.
For the longest time, parents have brought their children to worshiping communities for dedication. In the presence of in the presence of the congregation, children have been given names, and parents have declared their responsibilities for them. Because families move and join churches at different points, we dedicate both babies and children and youth at a ceremony like this.
For whether the children are with us from the time they are infants or if they join us when they are older, in our Unitarian Universalist tradition, rather than dedicate the child to the faith, we as a congregation and as a faith dedicate ourselves to the child and to the family. This ceremony publicly affirms that all of us, the parents, family members, friends of the child, and the gathered congregation as representatives of this specific religious community share in the responsibility for the care and development of all children. On their behalf, it is our task to strive for a world of peace and justice in which they may grow. It is our task to help them understand our ideals and hopes, and to help them find and express their own.
So here's what you need to know. We did this at the other service, so do not keep count of every child, because some of them are not missing. We know where they are. They were just at the other service. So will the parents and children participating in this ceremony please come forward as I call your names? Jules Garcia, Xavier Aristotle Jones, Ava Joy Guidry. Please come forward. Come on, up here.
And yes, siblings are more than welcome to come up. It's okay.
Get them over.
Y'all are not going to wind up on the internet unless you come over here.
Come on.
All right.
Are we set? So what I'm going to do next, I will ask you the name of the child, and you will, into the microphone that Nathan has, tell us what the full name of the child is. So, Darren and Latonia, what is the name that you have given this child?
Xavier Aristotle Jones.
Xavier Aristotle Jones. May the world be better because you are here.
Mary Ellen and Jane, what is the name you have given this child?
Sarah Inez Garcia, but we call her
Sarah Jules Inez Garcia. May the world be better because you are here.
Austin and Jen, what is the name you have given this child?
Ava Joy Guidry.
Ava Joy Guidry. May the world be better because you are here.
So y'all, I'm going to say this to you, but the microphone is here, so you're going to hear it, but just know that it's coming to you, okay? So to the children being dedicated, it is our hope that you will bear your name with pride and you will bring joy and honor to your name. It is our hope that you will be nurtured in affection and tutored in wisdom, and that you will find your place among those who are dedicated to the transformation of the world into a community of peace and compassion and generosity of spirit.
To you, the parents, is the privilege and responsibility to help shape these children. Before you are questioning minds, unfolding selfhoods, you get to witness how they respond to the world around them. Will you respond to that challenge with the best in you, seeking not to make your children exactly like you, but rather to help them become themselves and find their ways? If you agree, say we will.
We offer this symbol of our dedication, a budding rose, a symbol of the unfolding life before you in all its strength, its grace, its possibility. We have removed the thorns in the hopes that your lives will be full of as few thorns as possible, and that you will always be surrounded by loving people who will help you when there are thorns. We also offer you a certificate of dedication so that you will remember this day.
All right, families, come to the center with me.
Literally walking into the heart of the congregation. The children and adults who participate in our religious education program, if you have participated in our religious education program either as a child, as a teenager, as a teacher, whether you are doing it now or whether you have done it in the past, will you please rise and face the families in the center? Those of you who are raised Unitarian Universalist or Unitarian Universalist, if you would also rise at this time as you are willing and able and face the families in the center. And our question for you is, will you make a place for these children as they grow, welcoming and supporting them as members of our community? If so, say we will.
Visitors, would you please bear with us for a moment? Will the adult members of this congregation please stand? And anyone else who considers this part of your church home, please rise and face towards these families. And I'll invite us into a moment of prayer and reflection. The God that we know when we see love and hope and justice, that great mystery that holds us together, be with us on this day and bless these children and these parents and these families, and bless all that has had to happen for them to be here today. May they be strengthened by their time in this church. May they go into the world and make it more beautiful because they are here. May hearts be healed. May the world sing out its praises. Amen. It is the responsibility of the congregation to provide for the religious growth and nurture of all children in our community. So this is a question for you all. Will you delight in their accomplishments, share in their sorrows, and encourage them as they grow into adulthood? If you agree, say we will. And will you now welcome them and pledge to their family and pledge to their families your wholehearted support and hospitality?
May these children that whom we have dedicated today receive abundantly the blessings of love, health, knowledge, and wisdom. May this celebration work its miracle in all of our hearts. May we mold our lives more and more in accordance with the beauty, truth, goodness, and hope that we hold for these children. In their names, may all of us find joy, and by their being, may generations to come be blessed. For the love of all people, may it be so. Amen, shalom, and so may it be.
And let's welcome them with applause.
And y'all may now be seated.
Today we only have one name to announce for the Stones. It is a good name. I mean, all names are good names, but it's a good news name. We have a member of this church, Jan Dardenne, got married Friday night here at the church. To John Huval, he is Catholic. They are going to have their marriage blessed by the Catholic Church. Either they had this weekend or soon. I know. Marriage is hard. So this ritual we have is open to everybody, visitor and member alike. Online people, please type your stone right into the chat. We invite those who wish to come forward either along the east or the west wall. Take a stone, let it represent whatever's on your heart or your mind, whatever you're working through. Place it in the chalice bowl. We now invite those who wish to come forward as we place stones.
and we say together, with hope to make this a better world, we light this flame. Its light is a symbol of the power of love.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
His mother was a devout Catholic. His father, agnostic. He became an acolyte at age 10 in 1890 at St. Martin's Catholic Church. In the years that followed, he became disillusioned. His priest was a cynic.
At 18 in Vienna, Norbert Čapek discovered the Baptists and became a minister. He founded almost a dozen churches from Ukraine to Budapest. Yet slowly, his faith became more and more liberal.
He left Bohemia under government threat and accepted a call to serve a Baptist church in New York City until one day in 1919, that day, he wrote in his diary,
I cannot be a Baptist anymore, even in compromise. The fire of new desires, new worlds is burning inside me.
Norbert and his wife, Maya Čapek, joined a Unitarian church in New Jersey in 1921 for the same reason a whole lot of you did. Their children liked the religious education program. That's the power of our Sunday school teachers. Kids, that's your power too.
World War I had ended. His home country, now independent, he and Maya returned home to Czechoslovakia. His church was the Prague Liberal Religious Fellowship. In just 20 years, his church had 3,200 members.
That traditional Christian communion service of bread and wine wouldn't meet the needs of his congregation because his church, like ours, had people who believed different things.
Čapek turned to the beauty of the countryside, to the beauty of flowers. In 1923, he developed the flower ceremony. He asked his congregants to bring a flower to church from their gardens, the fields, or the roadside.
He invited each person to place their flower in a vase. There was a church community, no less unique for being united. Following the service, each person could take a flower from the vase, a different one than they had brought.
In 1942, the Gestapo arrested him. The Nazis accused Čapek of listening to foreign broadcasts and sent him to the Dachau concentration camp.
Even in starvation and torture, he held a flower ceremony with his fellow prisoners, finding whatever flowers they could among the weeds of the camp.
They testified to a beauty larger than themselves and a love that would outlive them. The Nazis killed Norbert Čapek, but his spirit, courage, and commitment live on today. Those qualities have passed now to us to make them real.
His wife, Maya, brought the flower ceremony to the Unitarian Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1940. What we are about to do is not a historical reenactment of something over and done, but an affirmation of our continuity with the generations of struggle for ever-widening liberty.
So one of the things you should know, Kathy, you can come on up. We're going to do a hymn that they discovered like 5 years ago that Reverend Dr. Čapek wrote. It's really pretty. Kathy's going to teach it, but before she does, part of the tradition of this ceremony is that children bring the flowers up and distribute the flowers. So, if there are any, Kathy, once the hymn gets going, if you would have them do it, if there's any children or youth who would like to help distribute the flowers, bring the flowers up, please go to the back right now. Go, yeah. It's children or youth. All right, while
Or
they
adults.
discuss, go ahead with this new hymn.
And so this hymn, in a minute, I'm going to invite you to stand because it's easier to sing, especially new songs, when you're standing. And the way we're going to do it, I'm going to teach you the chorus, or at least I'm going to sing the chorus. Then I'm going to invite you to join in. Then I will sing the verse, and I'll invite you to join in. And then we will just carry the song the rest of the way through. And you will sing out with energy and enthusiasm and great joy without regard for whether you're hitting the exact notes. Because the point of this is not that we do it perfectly, but that we build the energy together that represents the spirit of this song, that my life is worthwhile and I will go on. So if y'all will rise as you are willing and able. And I will sing the chorus, and then I'll invite you to join. I might be disappointed, I might fall in the flood, but I am sure that my life was worth living. The life which is to come has been my holy shrine. I trust that I have lived a life worth giving. I might be disappointed, I might feel in the flood, but I am sure that my life is worth living. The life which is to come has been my holy shrine. I trust that I have lived a life worth giving. My turn. My life is made worthwhile by fighting bravely on for those ideals I hold most great and holy. Though evil winds may blow and will not rock the calm in my soul, which remains both quiet and lowly. Try it with me. My life is made worthwhile by fighting bravely on for those ideals I hold most great and holy. Though evil winds may blow, they will not rock the calm in my soul, which remains both quiet and lowly. And now the high part. I might be disappointed, I might fall in the flood, but I am sure that my life was worth living. The life which is to come has been my holy shrine. I trust that I have lived a life worth giving. For heaven waits for those whose spirits have won through, but I am sure that my life was worth living. And they will find the sun, whose minds have let them rise, and stand against the darkness and the mayhem. I might be disappointed, I might fall in the light, but I am sure that my life was worth living. The life which is to come has been my holy shrine. I trust that I have lived a life worth giving. Thank you so much.
What'd y'all think of that one? It's nice, right? You're allowed to clap for your own hymns. This is the 100th anniversary of the flower ceremony existing in the world, at least by Unitarian standards. And UU's put out a whole bunch of really interesting stuff about it, and it was really hard to sort through, including a 14-minute video of a marionette puppet of Norbert Chopek, which we didn't use. But anyway, hidden in all of that was this hymn, and I just sort of pulled it out on Wednesday, and I was like, we need to do it. So you liked it? It was good? Good. So we've done this service in the world for 100 years. It came to this church, we think, in 1983. You've probably figured it out right now. Also, this ritual is distinctly Unitarian, and as such, it's Unitarian Universalist. It was invented before the merger. And as you probably figured out, it was invented by a Unitarian minister, Reverend Dr. Norbert Chopik. He was raised Baptist, but eventually converted to Unitarianism as he got more and more theologically liberal. Now, please remember that theologically liberal is not necessarily politically liberal. He may have had politically liberal views, but that is not what drew him to being Unitarian. Theologically liberal means belief in multiple truths, that religion should be a free expression and not one of coercion. It's a belief that no one has a monopoly on God or the truth, and that doubt can make our faith stronger. Now, as you may have picked up from the reading, Dr. Chopik became a Unitarian in New York because he was looking for Sunday school for his kids, and eventually went back to his home country in what is now the Czech Republic to start a church. That church had more than 3,000 members. In fact, someone among you has been to that church. I'll let you all discuss with each other at the end of this to find out who it is, but I do have confirmation the church exists. He had a number of former Catholics and people who were raised Jewish in his congregation, so he needed a new ritual that would serve all of them. And this idea of the flower ceremony was that each person would bring a flower representing their own individual beauty. Then we would place all the flowers together in a vase, representing, symbolizing the larger religious community in all of its beauty. We don't logistically have the ability to have it all just be in vases, so we also have them in baskets. This is where we start to veer off from his vision, but we do have some in vases. Toward the end of the service, we will consecrate and bless these flowers, and then you will take one home, and more specifically, you will take one home that is different from the one you brought in. And this will symbolize how we are different from having come into a religious space and shared who we are. That ends sermon part one. Now quickly to talk about the offering. A couple of things for you to know. First, a church member has been propagating and growing a bunch of plants, and he offered to give them away to church members. And then he said, wait a minute, instead of giving them away, what if we did it as a fundraiser for the church? So out there are a bunch of plants, and here is your challenge. You don't have to pay for them. If you would like a plant, take one. If, however, you would like to help give a little money to the church and maybe spend like $20,000 on a little thing of basil, and then you could say that you have made the most expensive pesto in the history of the world. We have a fan of expensive pesto over here. Online people, I don't know how you can get this, but you can still give money to the church and go find a plant, I guess. But anyway, so give what you can, and we want to sell all of those plants. There's some really cool stuff out there. It's just a kind of gimmicky fundraiser to the church. The other thing for you to know is last week we had $300 of cash in the offering, and someone stole it. Well, let me rephrase. It was no longer in the place where we normally store the money. So we have a new plan for where we're going to store the money, and the ushers know where it is. But we just want you to know that $300 went missing. It also, in cash, all the checks were still left there. It also means that Planned Parenthood, who was going to get half of what we offered, is now short $150. So if anyone would like to give a little extra or write a check to Planned Parenthood, you can. This stuff happens in churches from time to time. Our goal is to create systems so it does not allow it to happen. Also, this month, because it is now May, we are sharing with, look at that, the Capital Area Alliance for the Homeless. So I'll ask you to give very generously as this morning's offering is gratefully given and received. Will the ushers please come forward? Also, online people, I thought about how to do this. If you could go out of your house or apartment right now and just go grab 2 flowers, but don't look at one of them. And that's not what we're going to do right now, Brian. You also didn't just see the letter to the thing. That's the secret for later. But so online people, go grab 2 flowers, don't look at one of them, put them in a vase or a cup, and then participate in it later. This reading that we're doing, it came out in 2003. So this was in a publication that is for secular humanists. And it was right in the drumbeat up to the Iraq War. So kind of if you could put yourself back in that time when it was almost sort of considered unethical to question this push towards war. So that's where this reading came from.
Fascism's principles are wafting in the air today, surreptitiously masquerading as something else, challenging everything we secular humanists stand for. We are 2.5 generations removed from the horrors of Nazi Germany, although constant reminders jog the consciousness. For the purpose of this perspective, I will consider the following regimes: Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, Franco Spain, Salazar's Portugal, Papadopoulos' Greece, Pinochet's Chile, and Suharto's Indonesia. To be sure, they constitute a mixed bag of national identities, cultures, developmental levels, and history. But they all follow the fascist or proto-fascist model in obtaining, expanding, and maintaining power. Further, all these regimes have been overthrown. So a more or less complete picture of their basic characteristics and abuses is possible.
Analysis of these 7 regimes reveal 14 common threads that link them in recognizable patterns of national behavior and abuse of power. These basic characteristics are more prevalent and intense in some regimes than in others, but they all share at least some level of similarity.
Number 1, powerful and continuing expressions of nationalism.
2, disdain for the importance of human rights. The population was brought to accept human rights abuses by marginalizing, even demonizing those being targeted.
3, identification of enemies/scapegoats as a unifying cause. Often the regimes would incite spontaneous acts against the target scapegoats, usually communists, socialists, liberals, Jews, ethnic and racial minorities, traditional national enemies, members of other religions, secularists, homosexuals, and terrorists.
And just to clarify, he wrote the word in there. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but I kept it in there even though it's a bit dated. 4, the supremacy of the military and avid militarism.
5, rampant sexism. They were adamantly anti-abortion and also homophobic. These attitudes were usually codified in draconian laws that enjoyed strong support by the Orthodox religion of the country, thus lending the regime cover for its abuses.
6, control of mass media.
7, obsession with national security.
8, religion and ruling elite tied together. Most of these regimes attached themselves to the predominant religion of the country and chose to portray themselves as militant defenders of that religion. The fact that the ruling elite's behavior was incompatible with the precepts of the religion was generally swept under the rug.
9, power of corporations protected.
10, power of labor suppressed or eliminated. Under some regimes, being poor was considered akin to a vice.
11, disdain and suppression of intellectuals and the arts. Intellectual and academic freedom were considered subversive to national security and the patriotic ideal.
12, obsession with crime and punishment. Most of these regimes maintained draconian systems of criminal justice with huge prison populations. The police were often glorified and had almost unchecked power, leading to rampant abuse.
13, rampant cronyism and corruption.
And 14, fraudulent elections. I will say a historian who is a member of the church at the 9 o'clock service said another one should be added that movement of the masses. And I'm not sure if he means people moving and re-sifting themselves based on ideology or being able to convince large groups of people. So I wanted you to hear that second reading for a few reasons. First is it was written by a secular humanist. I do not know under any circumstance that he was or is Unitarian. However, our religion has a long history within the secular humanist movement. Unitarians and Universalists were there when the Humanist Manifesto was signed, and it's probably one of the most pronounced religious forces within Unitarian Universalism in the 20th century. You may have heard this list before, so remember it was written in 2003 for a humanist publication, but it later got converted into a poster that was sold at the U.S. Holocaust Museum. In 2020, in what felt to many like this country's descent into fascism, a photo of this poster went viral. I don't know if that's where I heard of it. Have any of you heard this before? Anyway, there was a picture that went all over the internet. And I share it with you because it is intertwined with Dr. Čapek's story. In 1942, members of the Nazi Party had read some of his sermons and arrested him. They sent him to what would eventually be his death at a concentration camp. And while he was locked away, he continued to offer this ceremony with other political prisoners, grabbing whatever flowers they could find, proving that no empire, no fascist regime, no power can control beauty or connection. He and his wife Maya were separated because of the war. She fled to America, but he wanted to stay behind and to serve his people. She did not learn about his death until years later. In 1940, before he died, she brought this ceremony to the Unitarian Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts. In 1948, it spread to the Brooklyn Unitarian Church, and slowly this ritual moved further and further into congregations. We tell the story with Norbert at the center, not only because of how clergy-centric our faith is, although Maya would become ordained later in life, but also because we have a propensity to retell men's stories at the expense of other people's stories. While Norbert may have invented the ritual, although he may have invented it with Maya, we would not have this ritual were it not for her and her spreading the ritual to other churches. When Maya shared this, she had a few requests. First, to not consider this a communion. Communion is a separate ritual, and they asked for this to be called the flower ceremony. Second, and this church is as guilty of this as any church, she requested the ceremony not be done during Easter. She felt it was mixing too many metaphors and religious holidays. As honoring her request, at some time during the interim, we transitioned this service to its own Sunday, but also it gave more time for us to tell the story of it. Many Unitarian Universalists do this service in June, closer to the actual anniversary of it. But down here, if we did it in June, I don't think it would have many flowers left. I actually think we should probably do it closer to March, but we get into a weird Lenten situation, and I don't know that it matches entirely. So we've kind of landed around the beginning of May. I think there's a layer, also let me say logistically, if you did not bring a flower in, we have some members of the guild who go to Costco and buy a bunch of flowers, which is not what he had in mind, but there were plenty of flowers for everyone. So please take a flower, even if you didn't bring one. I also think there's a layer to this story that we must pay attention to, which is why I just shared that reading. Dr. Čapek was killed because of the rise in fascism. When we read through that list of 14 tendencies, I see us checking a lot of those boxes. Did anyone else have that? Yeah. One of them was about misogyny. And last year, by a majority of justices who were unelected justices who were appointed by presidents who received a minority of the vote in this country, women's rights were taken away. Right now, our legislature is following the lead of other legislatures all over the country, and they are fighting hard to take away the rights of trans people. Our legislature years ago told women what they can do with their bodies and told doctors what they can tell women they can do with their bodies. This year, they are trying to tell legislators what doctors can do with their trans patients. There is a push to tell teachers what they can teach, and specifically to forbid teachers from talking about any of the racialized violence in this country's history. There's also a movement to tell teachers that they are not allowed to talk about any relationship other than cis, straight relationships. Our Attorney General is telling librarians which books they are and are not allowed to check out of the library. To say that I am worried about where this country is and where it is going, it feels like hyperbole, but how many more people's rights have to be taken away by those we elect? So it matters that we are here, and it matters that we are here together. It matters that we talk to our families about the power of radical love and of forgiveness. It matters that this church exists. It matters that you bring yourself fully in bloom, just as God made you, however that metaphor works for you, and that you share yourself fully with the world. It matters that you are here. And it is important that we stay vigilant and watch out for controlling and oppressive tendencies that play out in ourselves or in our institutions. And on the surface, rituals like this may not seem to do much, but truly, they are here to help us to build a better world. So I'll now invite you to hear a letter that was written by Dr. Chopik's successor after his death to the Unitarian Church in Brooklyn.
You do not know how happy we are to learn that you plan to have a flower ceremony service on June 6th. For on that day, we also shall hold our service, and it will be the 26th anniversary of the first flower service held here in Prague by Dr. Chopik. Dr. Chopik realized the need for symbolism in religion, but felt keenly a need for new symbols, flowers, the gift of God. There's never been a war or oppression made with flowers. We give them to the bride and to our dead. We give them whenever we wish to express love and sympathy. We shall be thinking of you.
Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, where are you? In the skies up in the forest sounds your cry. What to give you, what to call you, what am I? Many drops are in the ocean deep and wide. Sunlight bounces the ripples to the sky. What to give you, what to call you, who am I am empty, time flies from me, what is time? Dreams eternal, fears infernal, haunt my heart. What to give you, what to call you, oh my Lord. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, take our hearts. Take a breath and let our voices sing our hearts. Take our hands and let us walk to shape our heart.
Would you join me in a moment of prayer and blessing? Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talent discourage us or sully our relationship. But may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world. And so now the distribution of the flowers. I will invite any children or youth who would like to help with the distribution to come forward, and any guild members who can help. We will get a flower to everyone. We will pass them forward. Will those who wish to help children, hint, hint, please come forward.
Come back up. Come on. Don't be shy.
We thank them one more time. All right, so I have a little taste of hope for you before we go. As worried as I am about the state of things, I do have some good news. I believe strongly we are seeing all of this anti-trans nonsense floating around is because something is about to flip. It feels like 2004 to me. I worked hard on the 2004 marriage equality campaign in Texas. Really hard for that campaign. At the time, the only state that allowed people who were gay to get married was Massachusetts, and actually the first state in this country, and the first wedding in this country that was legally acknowledged happened at the Unitarian Universalist Association headquarters. But in 2004, I campaigned hard for marriage equality, and it lost on the ballot. Not it lost because of some bigoted legislature. The people voted it down. And it wasn't just Texas. Remember California had Prop 2? They voted it down too. The current president at the time, the future president, and the future president were all opposed to gay people getting married. But because more and more LGBT people were out and more people knew someone whose rights were denied, gay marriage moved forward at an unprecedented rate. In 2015, the Supreme Court did what should have been done decades earlier and allowed for, and made it legal. And do you know that last year, partially in response to some of the shenanigans the Supreme Court is likely to do, the Congress and the President signed, Congress passed and the President signed legal protections for gay marriage and interracial marriage for the first time in the history of this country. I believe that we are seeing all of this anti-trans stuff because the legislators are parents. And they are seeing their kids go to school. And they are seeing their kids learn that they can be fully themselves and that they don't have to be confined into these terrible gender binaries that have hurt so many people, that have given permission to so much depression and assault and violence. They see their children and ours daring to be who God made them to be. They saw it and they were scared. Scared because it means their own liberation could be at hand. And people get scared when they find out the world could have been better and that maybe they did things that made it worse. The problem with fear is that fear with power can hurt people. And it isn't just with our legislators. This anti-trans fervor is working its way through our culture and our churches. One of the local clergy leaders in Baton Rouge about a month ago blamed the rise in gun violence on gender confusion. The most radical thing that this church can do, the most impactful thing that we can do to save the state and to save these people and this legislature is to, and anyone who's trying to use their power to hurt, is for us to just be here. What I would like for you to do for these next 4 months while I'm away, do the deep and real spiritual work to let yourself bloom. Trust that who you are is good enough and divinely inspired. Bring your fully bloomed self to this church and trust that even if you leave differently, you are still blessed and beautiful. Go love the hell out of the world. Amen. Let's sing.
Build the land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves the mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come build the land where we are all worthy, anointed by God to create peace. Well, justice shall rain down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build the land where we bind real good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll the land where peace is born. Come your land, building up ancient cities. Praise the devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come build the land where we are all worthy, anointed by God to create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come build the land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stands her people. Oh, come build the land, my people, we seek. Come build the land where we are all worthy, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
The life which is to come has been my holy shrine. I trust that I have lived a life worth giving. Go in peace, go in love. Amen.